Welcome to our Core and Restore session today. We're going to work in 3 sections today: move, engage, and strengthen. We're going to move and mobilize the spine and some of the other structures. We're going to engage, get muscles working, and then we're going to strengthen key things like the glutes and the abdominals. First section is move. We start with the cat, a great mobilizer for the spine. The aim is to move completely through the spine from the head to the tail, first bending and then extending from head to tail, moving segmentally, one vertebra at a time, so we get a nice flow through the entire spine. The aim is not to move the arms or the legs very much. Get a nice curvature of the upper back and a tuck of the tail as we flex, and then we get nice extension of the upper back and also that hollowing of the lower back as we complete. We're just going to take a nice short rest, no more than about 20 seconds, just to reset the position. Make sure we're nice and neutral and our spine is in a natural curvature before we go again, and then focus on that nice easy flowing movement again. So remember, as you curl your back, you should be reaching a nice high peak on the top part of your spine and getting a nice full tuck of the pelvis under or the tail at the bottom. So the spine should be feeling nicely mobilized at this point, feeling quite comfortable. Some of the stiffness starting to work out. That's going to set us up nicely to do a slight variation on this position as we move on. We'll concentrate on a movement from the tail. So this variation focuses on the movement of the pelvis and the lower back. We try to keep the upper spine, that is the thoracic spine, and the rib cage as still as possible, and instead generate the movement by rocking the tail or the pelvis gently back and forth. In this way, the lower spine is mobilized and also will become more accustomed to tilting the pelvis. This is really good variation. Takes quite a bit of control, but I really recommend it for anyone who experiences stiffness or pain in the lower back. Just a little recap on the cats there. We're going to use smooth movement. We're going to try and move one vertebra at a time and flow in the direction from head to tail. So having mobilized the spine quite well there, we're going to move now to concentrate on the upper spine and shoulders. We're going to grab a broom handle and move to dislocation. So this is the dislocation pattern. It can be done with broom, resistance band, a long strap, or even a towel. The aim is to bring the bar or band up over the head if possible, keeping the arms straight at all times, keeping the ribs down and the pelvis slightly tucked under, head nice and stable. Smooth passes. Only go as far as you feel comfortable. There's no need to force it to get the full range. The aim is just to encourage the movement and the shoulders and the shoulder blades to start to move into position, and gradually you'll get more range of motion. As we finish the last reps of the dislocation, we're going to get ready to move on to another pattern for the upper back, which is a thoracic lift. And what we're going to try and do with this is isolate the movement in the upper spine while keeping a nice tuck on our pelvis and a slight curve in the lower back. Movement should be smooth and controlled, not too big, but it's very effective. You should start to feel the obliques as you squeeze the ribs down and as you move that chest up and down. There is no movement in the pelvis. So breathe nice and deeply, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Every time you exhale, try and squeeze those ribs down a little more. Feels the obliques working more, and keep that thoracic spine just mobilizing nicely. So by now, we're starting to feel that movement become easier, freer, as the thoracic spine starts to mobilize. This is going to be good preparation as we move into the next section, which is engage. So first exercise in this section are the bridges, which are especially effective for activating and engaging important glute muscles. We start with the feet about 6 inches from the buttocks and with a neutral back. The idea is that we push through the feet, peel off the lower back steadily, and raise the hips nice and high without overarching the lower back. Keep the ribs down and engage so there's no flaring of the ribs or arching of the back, and then a nice steady rhythm throughout. Keep that breathing pattern, remembering to exhale as you push and lift, squeeze the ribs down, and inhale as you return. Keep a nice smooth style, and this is a really good exercise, as I say, to get those glutes working. So continue with good form all the way to the end. And once we're done, we can go straight into our Superman, which is our next engagement exercise. Really good for getting the obliques, and also the important muscles of the lower back. Nice, smooth, steady form here. Be as long through the limbs as we possibly can. But we're trying to keep a stable, neutral lower back and without any excessive loss of control in the upper back as well. So it's all nice and smooth. Nice, normal breathing. Opposite arms and legs. Keep that going. Smooth. Nice breathe in. Every time you exhale again, just tighten a little bit. Squeeze those ribs down. When you inhale, take your sternum up towards the ceiling or the sky, in this case. So we're going to transition straight into the next exercise, the oblique bend. We're sitting on a low bench. Legs are out in front. And we've got that pelvis tucked under, the ribs are down, that's very important, but we're reaching up with the arms, wrapping the shoulder blades high and around the body, and the idea is take the shoulders across and roll down through the ribs as we move rhythmically side to side. It's really effective, the oblique muscles. It doesn't look that challenging, but believe me, once you've done this for 20 reps, it really is going to start to make those exercises engage. You will feel it. And it's really a surprisingly good exercise for your obliques. Keep the rhythm smooth, keep good control, and be disciplined with the position of the ribs. That's the secret to getting really good results with this. So yeah, keep the rhythm going all the way through. And as we prepare to rest before our next round of 3 exercises, remember that good form is really important for these exercises. So I've just put this little series in here so we can have a look at 4-point kneeling and have a look at the alignment of the spine as we take the limbs up and away from the body. We're trying to keep that nice, consistent alignment of the back, which I'm doing pretty successfully here. Not perfect, but close enough for now. Keep working at it. We're back into our series bridges, and you'll have noticed I've placed a ball between my knees. This is a Pilates ball, but you could use a football or even a cushion or a roller. It just helps to get more activation in the inner thigh muscles, the adductors, but it'll also help us with our pattern of activation of the glute muscles as well, making sure that we're pushing upwards, extending the hip rather than letting the knees bow outwards. That's very important to get really good glute activation that's going to support the pelvis and the lower back. So keep the movement smooth, concentrate on your breathing and also position of the ribs. Nice steady rhythm. Keep working. You may start to fatigue now on the second set. Keep your form together and keep nice steady flow of the movement. So that brings us to the end of the bridges. And from there, we're going to return to our Superman exercise. So remember, for the Superman, keep that alignment of the spine that we talked about. Nice extension through the legs, pushing into the heels so we get length through the thigh, reaching out to shoulder level with the hands, keeping a nice steady pace. Keep working that through. And you should start to feel the obliques, the side of the waistline start to bite. And if we were to advance this exercise, we can even start to think about bringing a light load in the hand. We can pause in the top position. There are a couple of variations we can add to this as well. So smoothly does it, and we're nearly finished now. So we're back to the oblique bends. This is an exercise that I really like. I think it's really effective for coaching the right pattern to make sure you get your obliques really functioning and working well. I've set out we want to do about 20 reps of this, but really and truly, we're aiming to try and get as much as 2 minutes of this exercise before we really get too much fatigue. There's nothing wrong with getting fatigue late in an exercise if it builds us that pattern of endurance, the muscles that last and function. We don't have to have that fatigue building in straight away, but we do have to have that control. We should be thinking about what we're doing, engaging with the movement, rolling down through the ribs, keeping that slight backward tilt of the pelvis and the chest nice and high and the arms reaching. Smooth movement, nothing too much going on in the legs or the hips, the ribs really rolling through. Keep your form right to the end and you're going to be glad of your rest. So as we take our rest, let's consider a few points from that part of the session. Make sure we have a well-aligned spine at all times. A good rib position is very important. Not flaring the ribs up, but keeping them down means the lower back is better aligned with better engagement of our obliques. And finally, control the movement throughout. That's always very important and the key to those core exercises going really well. So let's get ready for the final part of today's session, strengthen. So the one leg Romanian deadlift, really good exercise for glutes, hamstrings, quads as well, but also demands a lot of core stability and strength and balance. The idea is keep a nice aligned back, ribs should be down, unsupported leg extending right into the heel, slight bend of the standing knee, no excessive rotation of the hips or pelvis, good control all the way through. Nice solid breathing, normally exhaling as we start to initiate the push through the foot. We've changed legs. Should be just as good on the opposite side in terms of controlling your movement. Getting good extension into that unsupported leg. Nice alignment of the spine. Ribs under control. Nice position of the upper back. Keep working. Feel those glutes really start to burn now. Slight tuck on the tail as we drive up to get really good glute activation. For our next exercise, we're going to return to the mat and we're going to do the dead bugs, which are excellent for conditioning the abdominals and really good for helping with the lower back as well. Here we go. So the dead bug is all about control. We're lying on our backs, reasonably flat in the lower back, but not completely flat. Keep that very slight curvature. Keep the ribs down, and then we drop the legs towards the floor before extending outwards. So as that foot starts to near the floor, then we start to extend. And what we're trying to do is maintain that neutral pelvis and back position and maintain the ribs as we extend those legs and then bring them back. So we're not getting excessive change or loss of control in the lower back at any stage. And the result of that is that it's really going to engage all the abdominals as we work. Keep a steady tempo, nice and slow, and we should be able to breathe freely throughout the exercise. That nice free breathing is very important. Shouldn't need to brace. If anything, you can keep a slight hollowing of the abdominal wall. Smooth control, steady pace, and a nice tempo. We're going to finish off the dead bug, and then we're going to transition straight into our side plank. The side plank is a really good strengthener for the abdominal muscles, really targeting the waistline, the obliques. We get the wider core muscles too. The deeper core muscles are going to be worked. And what we're looking for is a nice steady position. Note that strong position of the right forearm here and the left shoulder stacked directly above so that the chest is open, hips are open, and we're just holding. So we're changing sides and back into position. Again, nice and strong. Aiming for around 30 seconds again. Keeping the arms stacked in a nice vertical line. Front leg over the top so the foot is on the floor. Nice full breathe in. And that full breathe in is going to ensure the muscles like the obliques, the diaphragm, the serratus muscles all play a part in that stabilization, all interlinked with the breathe in. And these are very much the things we want to work. And get ready to relax. So while we're resting, we'll just look at some alternatives for dead bug and side plank. So the first of all, this dead bug option with hands reaching out. It's going to bring in the serratus muscles as well as the abs. We've got a regressed plank, which is going to be easier if you find the full plank too challenging. And then we've got something a little bit more challenging. So we've got a rotation, with the side plank, which is going to be quite nice and will push you a bit. It's always good to have a couple of different options to go through. But now let's get ready for the final part of our session, and we're going to go back into those one leg Romanian deadlifts. So again, emphasize that one of the key elements of doing this really well is good balance. So it's nice and stable on your foot. Spread your toes, and also control that rotation of the pelvis and the hips and higher up the spine, so that really good alignment all the way through. If we're controlling rotation well, that's a sign that our core muscles are working generally well. You get a lot of work for the hamstrings and the glutes. And if you're doing well, you can put weight in one hand or both hands. You can use a bar or a dumbbell or even a kettlebell and make it even more challenging. So for the purpose of this video, I've stuck to the unweighted option to emphasize control, so that you can focus on learning the exercise first before you start to add that weight. Even without weight, it's a good, really challenging exercise. Really good if you like to go running and sort of other sort of sports related activities. Also just really good in terms of being strong on one leg and helping with your balance and overall rotational control. We're nearly done now. There we go. So we're returning to the dead bug, and this time I'm going to show you another variation, which is again a little bit harder. So we're going for the full extension of the arms as well as the legs. So core is being challenged from both ends. Again, the rib position now becomes really important, because the tendency with the arms going back will be for the ribs to pop up. Try not to let that happen. Again, as that leg is being straightened out, try not to let the back arch and the ribs pop. Stay fairly flat. Keep breathing nice and freely. Try not to get a dome or a bulge in your abdominal wall. Keep everything nice and flat. If slightly tight in, so you can use your hand to monitor if you want. And keep that steady tempo, good control, and maintain all the way through to the end. Well done. Get ready for the last exercise, back into the side plank. So again, keep that really good alignment of the body, nice free breathing throughout, no breath holding. Emphasize good position of the ribs down towards the pelvis, slight tuck of the pelvis, just to ensure the oblique muscles are working well. Breathe deeply into your sternum. Keep the chest open and hold. The other side. Rest when the time is up. Nice quick change, transition through. We're back up on the other side. Again, open that chest. Strong position in the supporting legs. Like I say, prefer not to stack the feet. I think it's a more stable and more efficient position if you have the top leg over and the foot flat on the floor. Keep pushing through the supporting arm. That really does help to get a good position in the scapula and the upper back, and stops any collapsing in the chest. You there? Last couple of breaths. Very well done. You've reached the end of the workout today. Some good work done. Hopefully you've all enjoyed that and can feel some of those key muscles engaging, activating and strengthening. Try and incorporate some of these patterns into your own training, and if you have any questions or queries about today's workout, please get in touch. jevans.qol@gmail.com. Stay safe and see you all soon.